What's going on, everybody? It is your man Cleveland Terry, and today we're going to be reviewing the Prime 4, the flagship standalone controller from the good folks at Denon DJ. This seems oddly familiar. It is a standalone full-service DJ setup. Today we're going to be talking about this bad boy right here. Right off the bat, I'm going to say from a physical standpoint, it is a larger controller. It's not much bigger than the SX2 or the DDJ1000, but it is wider and then it is deeper. There's a lot of controllers you can get out there that are fantastic, but they're not really mobile controllers. So this one is what I would consider to be like the maximum size that I would even think about taking with me. So let's break down this device real quick. So the front panel is what you'd expect from any controller out there. You have your headphone jack with the 1/4 inch and the mini jack. You have your 4 channels of switchable line in and or USB. And then you have your fader contour, which is basically your cutting distance. Let's move over to the back. Now, this is where things get a little interesting, and they call this thing the Prime 4, but in my mind, they should have called this thing the Combo 4, because it seems like anything and everything you would need, there's multiple ways for you to access them. 2 fully independent combo jack mic ports, which means that they can take XLR and they can take 1/4 inch. A lot of people look at this and they assume that it only takes XLR, but if you take a 1/4 inch, it will go straight into that middle port. We move over to our RCAs. Now they're all line available, meaning you can put in your CDJs, you can put in your RCA to headphone jack, so you can run your iPads, you can run your iPhones, or your Android devices. Those are all available to you. But decks 3 and 4 give you access to a phono line. So this is a switchable phono line right on here. So yes, you can use your turntables with these devices, and they do work, and they do work really, really well. As we move over to your major outputs, there is a main, there is a booth, and then there is a zone. Now, the good things about these 3 outputs are they are all XLR outputs. A lot of times, especially with a lot of controllers, you'll have the mains be XLR with an RCA optional output, but then the booth will be a 1/4 inch. Most booths, 1/4 inch only. Also, you have your booth with actual EQs. I don't really see that too often. The first thing I found and fell in love with is the switchable stereo to mono hardware switch. Now, this is built right into the unit. Not a software switch, but right there. This should be on all devices. This makes things so much easier. The zone is a feature specific to the Prime 4, and it's something that I didn't think I would find a use for. And to be honest with you, I found a use for it immediately. What is this? I don't need my computer to send music to the zone. This is an actual feature that me as a mobile DJ would actually use. Typically speaking, I have a speaker with like an iPod attached to it. Sometimes the rooms are way too far that this would not even work for us. But in the event that the room is, 25, 30 feet away, and I didn't realize that they were going to be going in and out of the room, and there's music for the adults and there's music for the kids. That's fantastic. Also, something that I don't know a lot of people think about, say you're using like a silent DJ and you have your main outputs going to one headphone, and maybe you're a single guy, you don't have another DJ with you. You can send your other headphones out to the zone, and now you have a secondary channel, and you just send a mix through there, and you can do it all from within the box. And then moving over, you have your USB connection. When the box came, it came with this cord in the box. Now this cord is the old school standard USB-B with the kind of double port here. Now when I first saw it, I was a little annoyed because I said, oh great, another plug that I have to deal with. Basically, it's another combo input. It does both the old school way and then the new school way. Up until I was this age, did I realize that this plug will work in this port right here. Who knew? Maybe you knew. I didn't know. I know now. Let's talk about the top of this device. Now the top of this device is laid out very efficiently. As you can see here, that the default colors that come with this device are the green colors. Now, I've never been a fan of the green, so they've actually built in some options into the settings that allow you to just modify those colors. All these colors are available on basically all the decks. Now I have it set to only run 2 decks, but if there were 4 decks, you would see all 4 buttons here, and then you can modify each button. It only changes specific colors. The loads are orange, the cues are orange, the numbers are orange, and then the jog wheels are orange. Now, the placement of the controls are actually very, very good. They're designed very, very well. As you can see, it's not a mirror image of the other deck. It's basically one-to-one. In the middle of the unit, this is where you have your EQs and your effects buttons to select either effects 1 or effects 2. You have your display controls right here, the view, which allows you to change the current view on the screen. You have your sweep effects, and then your sweep effects filter effects on your headphones, your cue master and your level, and your ability to do split cue. The layout is really, really good, except for one thing. For me, I can't speak for everybody, but the sweep effects controls are a tad low in my opinion. So as I'm moving through the fader and I'm doing whatever I'm doing, my hands naturally want to kind of move outside of the crossfader area. And in doing so, I find myself sometimes hitting the button, and I will think I have a standard filter on, and then I'll go to do my filter, and then I hit the wash button on accident, and now my transition sounds off. You would think that it wouldn't be so easy to do, but I've done it a number of times, so it's not something that it's like, oh, maybe I just did a one-off and I hit it. Not that big of a deal. I would love in a future release that maybe this thing right here just moves up a hair to like right there. Maybe we can compress these a little bit and then leave a pure open space for the crossfader. Now, I know they're not expecting this to be some sort of a turntablist dream, but you know, I like to be able to do anything that I'm doing on turntables on my controller. Pads are great, they're super responsive, they're exactly what you'd expect from pads. They have a nice release, nice give, and visually speaking, the information that's there is very clear. Right up top, as I said before, you have 2 dedicated combo jack input mic channels. On your mic 1, you have a 3-band EQ, which is your low, your mid, and your high. On mic 2, you have a 2-band EQ, just your low and your high. However, on both of these channels, you do have a dedicated mic 1 and mic 2 echo with a wet and dry effect, and you have the ability to use echo on either the mic 1 or the mic 2. Now the effects are single channel effects for FX1 and FX2. Now as far as the effects are concerned, they are all very, very good, although to be honest with you, I found myself just using the echo, and the echo sounds good. It has a nice clean tail, adjustable tail. You can adjust both the feedback, the frequency, and the delay, and it can be used post fader. I only have one issue with the effects board. Once you've adjusted it to the wet dry settings of your liking, you're gonna leave it, set it, and forget it. The problem is when you turn off the system and you turn the system back on again, this wet dry setting is off again. So now you have to remember to reactivate it, and then you have to get it to the setting that you want to put it at. So in my mind, I would love to have this thing save my settings, because it's not something that I'm going to be changing too often. And if I want to change it, I should be able to change it, and then it will remember that too. The last known settings should be what save into the system. And last but not least, I haven't talked about the jog wheels. The jog wheels are good. The jog wheels are good. The crossfader is good. As a matter of fact, it reminds me of the DDJ SX2 and 3. The actual jog wheel, same size, same feel, same circle in the middle, and the crossfader, if you listen to this sound, you know this sound sounds just like the SX2 crossfader, like identical. I didn't have any problem DJing with it. I didn't have any problem, cutting, scratching, the jog wheels. The only issue I had was out of the box, the jog wheels are super sensitive. So I went to a party and decided I'm not gonna check anything out. I'd worked on this system in the house for a little bit, so I kind of got a good feel for it. And I just said, you know what? Screw it. Let's just bring it to our party and let's just see what happens. I had my backup sitting in my truck. I had my computer sitting right there. So let's just see what happens. So let's see if I can articulate what I'm hearing here. So a couple of things that already, it's more probably user error than it is anything else. But I've noticed that when when I started to use it, I was getting a little frustrated, and I was getting frustrated because certain things weren't doing what I wanted them to do. For instance, when I was using the jog wheels, when I was making adjustments to the tempo, like little changes, little variations would send that tempo crazy. And then I'd hit the stop button, there'd be no break. I tried to hit the effects weren't doing what I wanted them to do. It was manageable, but I had to treat it almost like just standard turntables because I couldn't use things the way I wanted them to. And then I decided after that party to just take a look at the settings. Now, I've never had to make such sweeping adjustments to any jog wheels in the past, but for some reason, this one required it. So I had to go into the settings. And when you first open up the settings, it looks, it looks pretty basic. It didn't seem like there was a lot there, to be honest with you. But then as I really went in, I realized it wasn't so much that there wasn't a lot there, it was just that they only put on the display the things you needed. So I was able to go in and then change my default speed range so it wasn't a +8, but maybe a +10 or a +20. I was able to move over to safety and then remove the lock playing deck because that drives me nuts on all systems when I can't load a song without having to stop the music. You have the option of just turning off the deck 3 and 4 if you're not using them. Changing the nudge sensitivity, that was the most important part because on the platters, the nudge was set to normal and the normal is crazy sensitive. So I dropped it to mid first, still wasn't giving me what I wanted, then I dropped it to low. Now I'm not this guy. I don't do a slight touch. I want to feel like that when I'm seriously pushing on this thing, that it's physically doing what I need it to do. When it's ultra sensitive, if I do this, then the subtle ones are sweeping just as fast. The platter sensitivity, I didn't actually have to do that. The platters were good right off the bat, so I just kept them the way they were. So all of these functions are there. Sending mic to booth. If you don't want to hear the mic in the booth, turn it off. Like I have mine set to off. I don't want to hear that MC talking over my mixes. I want to hear my mixes, not that MC. So all of your options are in the settings and the settings actually work. If you do get this device, take the time to actually, review, research, check the settings, get the system to your liking, because that's one less thing you have to deal with, because you still have to deal with the screen, which we're going to talk about right now. As far as screens are concerned, this is a great screen. The resolution is good. The touch sensitivity is very, very good. The keypad is a nice size. It's right there in your face. It's easy to use. And I don't have any real issues with the screen, except for one thing. I'm doing an event right now where I'm outside and I have no tint over me, so I am literally exposed to the sunlight and the elements. I go to my screen, there's a good picture of me on here, but it's incredibly hard to see the screen. I can see it, but there's no great angle in order to get a good visual. I have checked the brightness settings and we are sitting at max, and there is no daylight mode from what I can see. So a little bit of a problem if you're DJing outside, and being able to see the screen is important to you, like it is to me. Obviously, that's a little bit of an issue. It is very hard to read in direct sunlight. So if you know you're going to be taking this out and you know you're going to be somewhere in the sunlight, you're going to have to figure out some way of blocking that until they can come out with a daylight mode. It's something they've talked about, but it's not there right now. But in my opinion, it becomes almost unusable unless you have some sort of a tent or a cover above you. There we go. That's not so bad. I can just DJ like this. Whew. It's a little hot in here. Just gotta keep going. Not a big deal. Just gotta keep going. Ugh. Oh. Oh man. I'm having trouble seeing. In a nightclub environment, night events or most mobile events where you're in a room, that screen is perfect. There are no issues, but I just felt like you needed to know that. Now, this is a standalone unit, so you have to have some way of transferring your music over to this system. They do this with what they call their Engine Prime software. It's a computer-based application that basically takes your Serato folder or just your standard music folder or your iTunes or your record box, and it allows you to move your music from point A to point B, a lot like Record Buddy. Right off the bat, as you know, you have many options of playing music on this device. You can use a external storage drive. You can use a USB thumb drive. You can use an SD card. You can open up the bay and then you can put in a hard drive into the system, and now it's just built in. Once you go into Engine Prime, it's pretty simple, in all honesty. You pop it up, it then populates, you tell it which software you use. So let's say, for instance, I use Serato. It brings up Serato, you then choose your playlist, hit that export to drive, and then it copies everything over in their playlist form over to the drive. You pop it right into the system, and then it reads it the way it looks on your Serato. Now, I didn't copy a one... You kidding me? Now, when I first moved everything over, I used an external hard drive, which was a USB 3 drive with a 5400 speed hard drive inside of it. Not a solid state, just your standard spinning disk platter system. And I put that in, the speed was adequate. I didn't really find any real issues until I started searching. And when I would go into the search function, that's when things would go a little slower. For instance, if I was typing in, a word, I noticed that I'd have to wait a hair. Now, this is no indictment on Denon. This is the speed of my hard drive. So what I did instead was I decided to go SD card. I wasn't gonna put the hard drive in the drive bay. I didn't wanna do all that, but I did wanna use an SD card because it was there, and I know that the Denon Prime Go takes SD cards too. So I figured I'd kill two birds with one stone, and I noticed right off the bat, it improves speed. Now I'm not actually dealing with moving platters, so I'm not worried if the thing is bumped or if I'm having to move things around. Like it's a solid state card. Plus it's in there. I don't have to think about, oh my God, I forgot my hard drive. It was in my bag, now it's not in my bag. I can just keep that SD card right in the system. Very similar to keeping a hard drive, in the hard drive bay. So I would recommend either going SD card or plugging a hard drive right in there. The SD cards clearly are cheaper than getting like a solid state drive to put in the bay. You can get one of these, 128 gigs will cost you 30, 40 bucks now. The only issue that I had came from when I went back to the Engine Prime software to move music over. But then I had gotten some new kids music, and then I put it in Serato, and it was already in my Serato folder. I go to sync it, and then I go to my party, and the music that I thought synced didn't sync. So I said, that's weird, maybe I just screwed up. Go back again, try to sync it again, not syncing over. There is a secondary step that you need to take when you are resyncing, not when you're doing your first sync, but when you're resyncing, you actually have to go and resync the Serato folders so it can re-index the folders, and then you can do a sync export to drive, and then it'll bring over the rest of your music. It's not a big deal. It's easier than it sounds, and hopefully in the next couple of application updates, it's gonna be a one-to-one, meaning you plug it in and then you hit that sync and it's just gonna refresh everything and sync it the way it's supposed to. I actually don't have an issue with the Engine Prime software. It's actually done very, very well. Like I said, it does emulate any of the programs you're using musically, so you don't have that issue. The thing you have to realize is that in the Engine Prime software, the filtering system is limited. So as you can see, it's defaulting to BPM, and you have your highest BPM, and then you drop down to your lowest. And you can sort that from high to low or from low to high. When you click on this, it gives you all of your options here. Here's the problem. When I moved everything over to Engine Prime, and I realized that it wasn't holding on to my playlist hierarchy, strangely enough, look, in the history section, the numbers are there. So it's already has it built in. They just have to put this column into the main setting, and now you have your numbers. I said, okay, well, great. At least I know the music I dragged over should be at either the top or the bottom of the folder. I will just sort by date added. And that's where I ran into my first problem. The music that I pulled over all had the same date assigned to them. And because of that, I was no longer able to sort by the date added. So there was no way for me to figure out which ones I added most recently. And then that was a big problem on that party because, like I said, there was a lot of new music that I knew I had moved over, but I couldn't find it because I didn't even know where to look. So when I asked my guy Denon, he showed me in the Engine Prime software where, oh, you could sort by date created. I said, well, that's great. Date created, yes, it puts things where they're supposed to be, but that doesn't exist in the Engine Prime software. So that's on the to-do list as a feature function that they're gonna add later on. Now, of course, that's based upon your Serato folders. You can always adjust them if you were to make your own engine playlist. Once you do that, you have every option available to you. But besides that, as far as DJing with the Engine Prime software, I don't have any issues. It's good. It moves the way it's supposed to. It has a great feeling to it. The title integration works really, really well. Title integration is a little different than your standard record box or Serato. When you're loading in music with Serato, once it gets to a certain download, it will allow you to start playing that song. So if you do move ahead, you've seen my videos about this, if you move ahead, you might end up in some dead air. In Engine Prime, when you load that song, it's gonna load the entire song before you're allowed to play it. There's good and bad to both of them. I do prefer that it downloads the entire song. I'd rather wait and make sure the song is there and works. I'm not gonna have any glitches or dropouts later on, then kind of hoping that it's going to keep playing the entire time. In the system, you have your standard crates. You have your playlists. And the cool thing about your playlists is they don't actually need to be in the same section in the playlist folder. You can actually put your playlist in anywhere. If you want to keep it with your Serato music, you can put that there. If you want to keep it in its own dedicated playlist area, you can keep it there. And then you drop down, you have your prepare folder. Prepare folder is in its own section. Does not delete it when you turn off the system, you turn it back on, it's still there until you play the song. Let's talk about your prepare folder and the way you log music. When you are in your main section, so that means you got music on your left deck, you have music on your right deck. When you want to load music to each side from your main section, you can just slide it. You click the right button, moves to the right, click the left, sends it over to the left. Now, here's the only issue that I have. If you are in your library mode and you're looking up music and you're not ready to play a certain song, so you want to send it to the prepare folder. In your library mode, if you swipe to your right, it sends it to your right deck. If you swipe to your left, it sends it to the prepare folder. Nothing wrong with that, but the fact that I can no longer swipe left and right to send music to each side from the library field, but I can do it in the main field is a little bit frustrating. You can send music to your prepare folder in two different ways. One, by in the library or in the search. You can also send it to prepare by holding down your shift button and clicking the center button here. I want it to be universal across all of the pages. So if I'm in here, if I swipe left and right, it should just send music to the proper thing. What I think they should do is they need to create another swipe setting for sending music to the prepare folder. Because if I'm in the main field, I can no longer prepare from using my hands. I have to then hold the shift button and then click on the prepare to send it to the prepare folder. Meanwhile, there's also no indication by me doing that it's actually sent to the prepare folder. I have to just hope that it's actually done what it's supposed to do. I would wish they would have some indication that says it's now been sent to the prepare folder, like you can when you swipe. You get that satisfying feeling that I know I'm swiping, it's going to the prepare folder. Instead of when you hold down this button right here and you get the information from the page, but you hold down this button and then you can send it to the prepare. Or maybe if you double tap, because sometimes you're like, I want to play this song, I want to play this song, and I want to play this song. Send it over to the prepare folder. Done. And then last but not least, something that I noticed, and maybe it's not a big deal to people, but it's a big deal to me. You think it's possible that we can get a clock on here? Just somewhere that just tells me the time. As a mobile DJ, we are time sensitive about things. So being able to quickly look at something and see a clock, besides looking at my watch, turning on my phone and looking at my phone, that's it. I don't think that's too much to ask. Okay, now, for all you Serato users out there, we know that the Prime 4 is capable of utilizing Serato, and it utilizes Serato very, very well. I believe that Serato's implementation on this controller is probably the best implementation I've seen. This device actually really utilizes the screen, and more importantly, it really gives you an indication of how Serato could be if it were a standalone unit. It's almost there. It's really almost there. A couple of tweaks here and there, and it could be there. There are some caveats to running Serato on here. All of your functions are available to you. Using Serato, you barely have to touch your Serato screen. Everything is really designed to be used from the multi-purpose knob here, the back, the forward, the loads, and this knob here. You can fly through your crates just by using this knob, loading up things. The only thing you would need to use Serato for would be to search. It even has touch capabilities on the screen. The view button stops becoming a multi-purpose view for the main engine screen, but it actually changes the view on your Serato screen. In all honesty, I'm very, very impressed by the implementation of Serato. The only issue is you can only use Serato or Engine Prime. They cannot be used at the same time. Say for instance, you're going back to back with somebody and somebody's using Serato and you're using Engine Prime. There's no way to move over to Engine Prime clean. You have to essentially shut down Serato and then tell the Engine Prime software to go back into standalone mode. And that switchover takes time. I'm talking dead air type time. So you're gonna have to have some sort of thing plugged into your RCA to just play some music in the background like you were doing a turntable switchover before they had multiple inputs. A little bit of an issue. I wish there was a way that they could have made that a little more seamless in transition, because right now it's not seamless at all. Okay, so I've gone through all this stuff. I've talked about everything, I've broken it down. What do I feel about the unit? This unit is absolutely amazing. And I actually love what it does. I appreciate all of the thought that went into it. The hardware is good. The software is decent and steadily improving. The abilities of the system are fantastic. I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't talk about my standalone concerns. Purely as a standalone DJ unit. I DJ a party and that's it. Gets a mic work, works perfectly. My issue comes when I'm doing bigger production, when I'm doing a bar mitzvah or a wedding. And when you do those things, there are a couple of things that are typical and this system can't do on its own. Say for instance, I'm doing an event and the client has a video montage that I need to show. Well, there are no HDMI ports on this thing. There is no way for me to play a video out of this controller. Hence, I'm going to need a computer. The client books me to do video mixing. Well, there are no HDMI ports out of this box. So I'm gonna have to open up Serato and do Serato video and not enjoy my standalone unit. I'm happy that this system has Serato built in, because if I am doing something like I gotta do Serato video or I have to do montages or things like that, knowing the fact that I can move over to Serato video and get the job done while still enjoying my Prime setup, I believe that every Prime hardware should be Serato capable. And only because of the reason I just described. Sometimes I gotta do things that are more involved than what my standalone unit can do. Having the ability to switch over if I need to is necessary. I know that they have been thinking about whether or not they're gonna put it on the Prime 2 and the Denon Prime Go. I think that they should stop thinking about it and just do it. Not because of concerns that, oh, people are just gonna keep using Serato. Once I moved everything over from Serato into the SD card, I didn't touch Serato anymore at all. I was able to do everything I wanted within this device. So having Serato available to me did not prevent me from using the Prime in its actual intended form. It just gave me an out in case. I'm saying that it's kind of a necessary evil in its current form. Not that I want to use it, because there's something incredibly freeing about not having to bring your computer everywhere, about being able to keep your computer in the bag and only pull it out in the absolute emergency situations. It is freeing. I found myself just grabbing it, just knowing that I just set it down, put in a XLR, hit the power, and I'm ready to go. The music is already there. I don't have to turn on another computer, plug in another system, plug in another power for another system, find an area for it to go. This is all right here. I love that idea. And it makes me really excited for when the Prime 2 comes out, and especially the Denon Prime Go. I actually love where the Prime series is going, with the caveats of I do wish that they all had Serato built into them, or that was the plan and they're actually gonna make that happen. The only thing I would say to make life even easier, on the next iteration, maybe put an HDMI port in the back and then set up your system to be able to play video files. Also, it would be nice if I didn't have to plug in a hard drive or an SD card to my main computer to get music over to it. We know this is Wi-Fi capable. We know that the laptops are Wi-Fi capable. It would be nice if we could create a Wi-Fi bridge, and when we sync, it just moves music over to your media without having to plug it in. We do it anyway with our iPhones and like iTunes, and there are plenty of applications that do that right now. So I know it's a capability, and maybe that's something that they're thinking about, but why do we even need to plug in? In all honesty, I am incredibly impressed with this device, and I would recommend this to anybody thinking about having not only a standalone unit, but just a Serato controller. It's a great controller. The Prime platform is legitimately solid, and once they do a couple more improvements to the actual software on the hardware, because the hardware is great, once they improve that software, the sky's the limit. All right, guys, that concludes this very lengthy review of the Prime 4. If you found what I said useful, hit that like button. If you found what I said really useful, hit that subscribe button. Also, let me know in the comments below what you are using and if you're thinking about moving over to any of the Prime systems out there, and let me know which one you're using or which one you're waiting for. All right, guys, make sure you follow me on the Instagrams and the Twitters. Always a pleasure. If I don't talk to you later, we'll talk soon. Peace. Oh, man. You know how hard it is to do two of them? Not one, but two. Oh, okay. I might have to take a vacation. I've just done like 6 hours worth of videoing. I'm done.